gonna see this. Bye, people. I'm closing the door. And the music, here it goes. Welcome to the Digital Forensics Now podcast. Today is Thursday, December 12th, 2024. My name is Alexis Brignoni, and you saw me just closing the door to my little recording office. And I'm accompanied by my co-host, the Google Keep Understander, the avid AI user. Yeah, but only on some things, not on all things. The well-deserved victory lapper, the one and only Heather Charpentier. The music is hired up by Shane Ivers and can be found at silvermansound.com. And there we go. Hello, Heather.
Hi. Thank you for the introduction, as always.
Oh no, I mean that's to me that's the part I do the most research for the show. I'm gonna introduce you. I'm talking about introducing you. For folks that are not watching us live or are recording on YouTube, you can see that Heather is super festive.
I am.
From her top of her head with her deer ears and horns to her awesome sweater shirt. No, that's a plain sweater, right? It's not a shirt. What is it?
Sweater, yeah.
Right? Yeah, a sweater.
Oh, yeah.
And she can definitely say that she has the balls.
I can. I absolutely can say that this week.
You have multiple balls there.
Yes, lots of them.
Well, since I'm not gonna be I was gonna say I'm not gonna be left behind, but I did because your outfit is way better than mine. But I have a nice Hawaiian shirt that has like a beach, and you can see where is it? I'm on the wrong side of the shirt. There we go. You can see Santa here with a surfboard, just ready to go. He's doing his last surfing bits in Hawaii before he has to go and deliver all the presents for all the good boys and girls. And you don't get presents, Heather.
I think you're super festive. You just needed some antlers or maybe some balls to hang from somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not putting I'm not putting my balls on the shirt. I'm just gonna have the shirt, and you can put yours on your shirt, and that's all good. So yeah, Christmas spirit. I mean, it's not the day of Christmas or the week of Christmas, but we're close enough so we can do this. We're not gonna have a show obviously during the holiday, so we're celebrating a little bit early. So you can see also our background, Digital Forensics Now, with a nice little tree there. So it's all good.
Yes. What have you been up to?
Well, doing good. Before I say that, there's some folks already coming into chat. So hi, Matthew, and obviously Kevin is around. Kevin is the man with the plan. Always good to see him. So no, I've been doing a lot of stuff. So, what was it? So on Monday, on Monday, ArtPoint Forensics has a series called the 12 Days of Differmus, which is kind of a smart take. Hello, Jake. And on those series for the next 12 days, she will be interviewing some folks in the field, experts and the like. On different topics. So I was the first to open that series, so really honored about that. And I spoke about validation and verification, and that came into AI. It came into a whole bunch of stuff because when I start talking, I don't shut up.
It was a good episode. I watched the whole thing. Very, very good.
Well, checks in the mail. I appreciate it.
Everybody should check it out.
And what else? So all of that has something else I have to say. We did the show. We did the what was it?
Oh, the cyber social.
Oh yeah, that's right. Thank you. So everybody's in for some news. So we unveiled for the first time the Lava. So that's the Leaves Artifact Viewer app. We made it public at least to show it. We have not released it yet because it's still in like an alpha phase. It's really rudimentary. But we got stuff that works. So we were excited to demo that during the Cyber Social Hub Conference 2024 yesterday. And today we talk a little bit more about it also during the conference. So I'm going to try to show it to you all here as well, at least the larger contours of the app and how that is different. If you're a Leap user, and again, the first time you hear about the Leaps, these are open source platform that we use, that we develop. Heather, myself, and another group of developers. Free open source to the community to parse items of interest from iOS extraction, Androids, returns from providers, ISPs, vehicles, and the like. And now we have a viewer that's an evolution of the tooling. So I'll be happy to show that today. Now, enough about me. How about you, Heather? What's going on?
I can't wait. Just on the same topic of the lava for the leaps. Can't wait till that's released because you guys are gonna all love it. It's awesome. Awesome updates coming. But for me, the last few weeks have just been super busy. We should have had a podcast last week, but I was busy, so we're having it this week. But I guess I've been doing a lot more testing on phone data, and I recently, for the first time, extracted my own phone. It's finally supported, and it's insane what is in your own phone that you don't even realize is stored from your daily movements. I can't believe it.
Like your personal phone, you mean?
My own personal phone, yeah. I'm going through and realizing that a lot of things I thought I knew what they meant after looking at my own data, I just was a little bit wrong. So I'm
Well, look,
changing my views on some of the data.
the good thing for everybody that's listening is that Heather's gonna show us all the content of her phone during the
Yeah.
show,
Oh, definitely.
and we were able to see.
I mean, I've already given out my passwords. Why not give out the rest?
That's a good inside joke for the people that watch the show. So if you don't get the joke, you gotta watch some episodes back to get it.
Yeah, definitely.
No, but
But
that's cool. So you're
yeah.
figuring out that some of what your perception of what something means expanded as you're looking at your own data, right?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with anything that's cached. Like I'm looking through my cached files on my phone, and I don't even have a recollection of ever visiting some of these pages that the files are caching from. So trying to figure out where that comes from, and realizing that when I'm testing something on one of my test phones, it's very
Mhm.
specific what I'm looking for, but there are so many more functions of the different applications that it's really easy to overlook like
Mhm.
how something may have gotten there.
Oh, and I guess correct me if I'm wrong, but as you're going through it, you're now making more connections. Like, hey, I
Yeah.
was looking for this, but since I knew I did these other things, oh, look how they come circle around and hit on this part.
Oh, big time. Big time. So, yeah, it's actually, I encourage anybody who has the capability to extract your own phone, see what you have in there. I definitely don't recall some of the stuff that's in my phone.
I don't recall that drunkenness
Yeah, I
pictures.
don't recall.
Hey, Andrea is in the chat. We haven't
Hey,
seen her in
Andrea.
a little bit, so it's so happy to see you around. She's the
Hey,
best.
hey.
Yeah. So yeah. So let's since you brought that up, let's go more into detail, right? I mean, so you look at your phone and what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, no, seriously, I am just starting to look through it, and I just really am realizing how much is in there and the connections I need to make. I think as I continue to go through it and we continue to have podcasts, I'll
Mhm.
probably have some new things to show everybody.
Yeah, and folks, if of course you gotta be careful, right? You check your own data, but if you find something interesting, go and take a test phone and try to
Hmm.
replicate some of that in a way that you can share or do research on, because there's something that we definitely need is research. And what happens with our tooling, for at least some folks make a good artifact, and but the test data that they have, they might not be able to provide it. And sometimes
Right.
I make some command decisions. If the person is sending a pull request that I trust and it's a prospective person, I will merge it because I trust them. But if I don't know you, I need some test data, right? In
Right.
order to merge or to, and that's, I guess my point is, if we, one way of giving back to the community is by generating test data sets. Now, you don't have to be an eminence, an awesome, like incredible out there person like Josh Hickman that does test data of a whole device, and
Yeah,
that's
his is like
crazy hard in regards to the time investment he does on that. So you don't have to be him; he's high level. But nothing prohibits you from, hey, let's do one app or two apps that you found something interesting,
Yeah.
and share your analysis and share the data, because other folks can build tooling on top of that, like us.
I can share some of my data. You're not getting my text messages or my pictures, but I'll share some of the other stuff.
So I'm not gonna know what really you think of me. Okay, I see.
No, never. Oh
I
my
see I see
God.
how you work.
I will never share that with you.
You know what? I think it's better that I'm ignorant of that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I'll believe what I want to believe.
exactly.
Oh,
um, so some things to talk about this week. I don't know if anybody saw, but Ali Hadi released or posted about some YouTube videos he actually did quite a few years ago, I believe, like 3 years ago, on working with the 010 hex editor. I had never used this hex editor. Have you used that hex editor?
Well, I used to when I saw his post.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so I had never used that hex editor, but Ali has an entire YouTube video series of kind of the functionality of the hex editor, and it outlines the different view options, how to view Unicode files, how to work and work with and locate specific offsets, find how to find things using hex. And it might be basic for some examiners. But if you're new and you're not sure where to get started with the hex, these videos can be great to start off with. And also, even if you aren't new, the seasoned examiners always need a refresher on this kind of stuff. So encourage people to check out his YouTube page. I'll throw the banner up now, but I'll throw the YouTube page in the show notes at the end of the podcast. Which actually, I was chatting with Kevin Pagano, and he didn't even realize that we have a blog for the podcast, and the show notes are there. They're also on the Buzzsprout page where you can connect with all of the audio sites for the podcast. So we put them in both places.
You know what? After we're done here, we do some post production. I need to go and add that stuff to our social media and to other places. So I need to do that as well, so people can get to it.
He shared it out too for us. So,
this whole thing about hex editors and being experienced or not, it reminds me of this meme of, there's two pieces of paper, and they ask the person, what's the difference between these two, right? And one says, learning regex and having to learn regex, and then every time I butcher the meme because I forgot. What was learn regex, another one when you have to use regex, and the person says, there's no difference, the same thing, because if you learn regex, every time you use it, you have to relearn it every single time, right?
Yeah, true.
So with hex, some of the hex things, if you don't do it daily, even if you understand hex and have a feel, you always have to review. You always have to be, okay, I'm gonna dig into hex. Let me refresh myself of how to do this. And if you're looking for a tool with some guidance, then this series is for you. So
yeah, definitely. Kevin says he facepalmed so hard when he found the show notes finally.
I facepalmed worse by butchering the joke of the meme, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Which
we all understood what you meant.
Well, thank you. You're so kind. Derek is around. Derek is awesome. He does awesome. He's an awesome examiner. He was also interviewed in Amy's Arc Points series in regards to forensics in the healthcare arena. So check that out. He's in the chat, and Christian, the master extractor of all things iOS, is also in the chat. So good to see you, man.
Hey, Christian. What else do we have this week? Arsenal released a new tool. I don't know if anybody saw, but Arsenal released a tool called Swap Recon. This tool performs brute force decompression of Windows 10 and 11 swaps, so the page file and swap file. What are they? System files on the hard drive that act as temporary storage for data when your computer's physical RAM becomes full. So potentially, with this new tool, there's a potential to find many different artifacts in these files. And I actually have I'll share a screenshot here of what the tool looks like. So this is what Swap Recon looks like. Looks a lot like their other tooling, but you browse out to the file that you're looking to process, choose your output, and then it will process that swap file.
And this is interesting because, as you were saying, the swap file it's encrypted, right? And it might contain remnants of activity from the system. So if you're doing incident response, for example, a lot of good data is there. And well, you might ask yourself, well, some other tools already do this. What's so special about it? I was having a conversation with Mark Spencer, the CEO, owner, lead person up at Arsenal, and was explaining to me how there's some heuristics added to the tool that allow you to really identify items of interest, some strings of interest that other tools might not represent it in a way that you can cannot capture as you're doing the review. I'm not gonna give you all the details because that's something you should go to their website and kind of check out all the explanations and all the different differences. But he portrayed to me how this tool does this swap analysis plus, right? So
Yeah.
if you're looking for cases in incident response, when you might, for example, I'm thinking of examples when this might be useful. If you're trying to figure out lateral activity or things that a user, but not a legit user, an actor is doing on the systems. Looking at swap space, looking at page file, looking at hyper fields, kind of that type of that copy of memory space down to the file system is gonna be a gold mine for your investigations. And this is
Yeah,
just one more
definitely.
tool that does that for you.
All right, let me remove that. So last podcast, I talked about the Samsung Secure Health Data Parser. It's by David Haddad, and I shared a blog he wrote about it, and we shared the GitHub page where you can get the parser itself. But at the time, I didn't have the capability to decrypt the database that goes along with that. So the database, the secure health database, needs to be decrypted to run on that tool. And currently, there's an issue with extracting in Premium and pulling down the key store. So I wasn't able to pull the key store for my Samsung phone. However, I extracted my Samsung phone with UFED, and it pulled the decrypted version of the secure health database. So I'm going to show this tool again to kind of give it justice and actually show what it does.
As you're bringing that up, so
Yeah.
what's your theory of what happened? Like the UFED actually dealt with the key store, or what's your theory of the case here?
I don't know. But I mean, it parsed the decrypted, it had the keys, obviously, to decrypt it, and I didn't have it in my other extraction. And it decrypted, and I have the Samsung Health decrypted copy with UFED. So if you're missing the key store and your device is supported by UFED, try it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned that because it really
Yeah.
goes with something I mentioned to Amy in her podcast
Mhm.
about how some versions lose support or gain support or whatever it is, and sometimes you have to revert back to a previous version. And how it would be useful for vendors to do that, to let us
Right.
know that.
Yeah.
So actually, I think it's Rebecca, her name, if I'm not mistaken. We were having a conversation in the comments in LinkedIn about it, or how she keeps all the executables from all her tools, all the
Mm-hmm.
versions. She keeps a library of those because she never knows when she'll need to revert back to version X to get something, right?
Yep.
And that's good practice on her. I think it's a good practice that we should start as well. But my contention is that it shouldn't be that way. She shouldn't have to keep a track of all those old binaries.
Right.
Why do vendors not allow those binaries and not only binaries and release notes to be easily indexed and searched? I
Yeah.
want to look for all the different support of all different devices across all versions, all release notes. I don't understand why. I mean, maybe there's the space constraints. I mean, I don't know. But I believe that should be available. I don't know what you think, but
Well, I have them all. So if you ever need one, I
okay.
do the same thing. Well, I definitely keep every version that's ever been created. So,
I mean, would you like to keep doing that, or you rather the vendor do it for you?
well, yes, I'd rather have a vendor do it for me, but it takes up some space on the server. So,
Free the space, please. Vendors,
yes,
take
let's
notes.
free. Yes,
Give us the
definitely.
old versions, have them available. Oh, let me say this. Some vendors do. It's not all vendors. I don't want
Right.
to judge all vendors, the same token. But if you're not doing this vendor, then do it. Give us
I'm
release
sure they
notes and give us versions.
I'm sure they have copies somewhere for us, right?
Yeah, correct. You know
So,
what? They'll ask you for copies.
yeah, okay. I can back them up. So I was able to obtain the secure health database in a decrypted format from my test phone. There's not a ton of health data on it, but as I said last podcast, you just select that SQLite database file, the decrypted version, and then give it an output location, and then just click generate report. Once generate report is done, let me just share here. It will create reports in both a CSV and an HTML format. So this report here doesn't have a ton of data, but it is an exercise session report. So exercise start time, end time, the duration of the exercise, what type of exercise I have walking, and I have a treadmill combination walking and jogging in this report here.
Looks pretty nice. I like it.
Yeah, it definitely does. And then this one's got a little more data, but this is the Samsung Health Step Count report, which has last modified date and time, start date and time, end date and time. It'll have, if I scroll over here, the step count, duration in seconds, and the actual step count. And this is not my personal phone, Alex, so don't think I have not been working out. This is a test phone.
Okay, yeah, because I was about to bring the hammer down. What's happening with our routine? Come on.
I swear I'm still going to the gym, just not with this phone.
Sure.
But this is a nice way to kick a report out from that decrypted Samsung Health database.
That's excellent. That's again another view, another thing to try out and make sure it works. I mentioned Rebecca. I think it's Graciela that does that.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'll make sure I get the proper attribution. But yeah, no. I mean, I'm all for tools, as it's same as I am for validation and verification of those tools. So that's good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Let me take this. So another tool. This tool's been around for a little while. But I've never really dived into it. I've used it for certain things, very specific things. But I think after talking to you, Alex, I decided to go look at it more today, and it has a ton of functionality that I'm going to show you.
What's the
But
name of the
recently, ArtEx by Ian Whiffen. So if you go to Double Black, his blog, there's an app section where you can go download ArtEx. You recently sat in a class on it, right?
Yeah, I went down to Miami to present on the leaves and some other things, and I had the pleasure of getting an artist class from the author and master of all things forensics, Ian Whiffen. And I mean, I've used it a whole bunch of times. Don't get me wrong, but when the person that does the tool teaches you certain things, you're like, oh well, I didn't
Yeah.
realize. And well, I'm not gonna steal your thunder, Heather, but some things like Heather, you need to try these and demo them. So I'm gonna let you handle that.
All right, so I'm going to pull the tool up. So what ArtEx is it's a free iOS research and validation tool created by Ian Whiffen. Allows the examination of extracted data and jailbroken devices. So the tool has a ton of different features. So I just kind of want to show some of the features. I know I'm not going to hit them all. There's a couple here I didn't even know it had. So I already pre-processed an iOS extraction. It's a full file system from one of my test phones. On this page here, which is under the device tab, you can see all of the device information, exactly what you expect to be there. The Apple iCloud account, any numbers associated with the device, whether it be IMEI serial number, unique device ID. It has important dates. So this actually has one of the important dates in an iPhone is the dot obliterated. And if you didn't know what that was, it's the last time this phone was reset. It's got settings. So what time zone is my device in? Different types of settings, message retention. It has Wi-Fi, the MAC address. It has other network-related MAC addresses. And then it has information about iCloud. So one thing I wanted to show is if you go to settings, you can actually go in the settings and view the installed parsers. This will give you a listing of all of the parsers available for ArtEx. I'm not going to read them all. There's a ton, but check it out. Installed applications, camera use, there's passcode changes, all the different artifacts that ArtEx supports.
And I love how Ian took the time to make a little icon for each artifact. Like that's a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely.
For each artifact that it supports. That's pretty neat. So I like that.
So back out of the settings here. And let me just cancel. So under apps, there's a listing of the applications installed on this device, and it gives you the capability to extract the bundle or the sandbox application data for this device or for each application.
like you connect the phone and it has to be what rooted. I mean, not rooted. It's not an Android. Jailbroken to get that, or you're
No,
looking at the extraction. What's
I
happening here?
process my extraction. Yeah. So now it'll
Oh, the extraction
extract.
straight up. Okay.
Yep. So it'll extract that bundle from the extraction. Yep.
Okay.
I'm
I'm asking
sure.
because the tool also does some stuff live as well. But
Yeah, I haven't even tested it live yet. I can't wait to keep testing things.
yeah, no, it's really really a lot of features. Yep.
Then under the keychain tab is all the information that's pulled from the keychain. So I have, I mean, here in the middle is my old Wi-Fi account. It was called Any Dancer. The Apple iCloud information is in here. Anything you would find in your keychain, you'll locate in this tab. And then there's a contacts tab. So the contacts of my test phone here. And it tells you where the contacts are coming from, address book, and then I have 3 contacts that are being pulled from Discord. But the timeline feature is awesome. So I pre-processed this, but over on the left-hand side, you can see all of the different artifacts. And you can choose which ones to process, choose one and hit run up here on the left-hand side, and it'll process that artifact. I pre-processed all of them so it would be ready. And then anything that you have checked will show up here in this timeline view. So I'm gonna deselect them all.
Yeah, and ArtEx is really timeline focused, right? So
Yes.
it's really the key item is time across the different artifacts. So it's really good at timelining things and mapping things. So if you're looking for mapping and timelining functionalities in your iOS analysis, it's a great tool to use for that.
I made the mistake of hitting deselect all live on a podcast though. And I now have the not responding. So I'm just going to continue. Actually, I'm going to show a report from it while we wait for it to come back.
That's good. That's
yes. So let's see here. I have some reports that I created. And I absolutely love this one. So I created, it has the device details at the time of creating the report. I had the contacts checked, but this is the part I love the best. So I'm always complaining that I hate reporting from every tool. And I always am complaining that I want a really good timeline and I want to be able to put the artifacts that I want into like the boxes that I want them to be. This is the closest I've ever seen to what I want for reports. So I'm going to just scroll down to September 23rd because I know what data is in there. Hold on one second. So
and what we're seeing is pretty much a list of
the dates,
right?
Yes.
And there in the at the end, what does it say at the end?
So it says show. So
Show.
I'm going to grab Saturday, September 23rd and hit show. And you have the artifacts that I chose to put into my report in a timeline format for the 23rd. So I have health data here. I have some Wi-Fi data. I'm going to expand September 24th. Got some more health data. Have some Discord messages.
The collapsing of the day is genius.
Oh my God, I love it. I had no idea it did this.
It's genius because then you can open whatever days you need, and you know, most timelines show you everything at all times.
Yes.
And navigating a little cursor through the timeline, you end up 6 months before or 6 months after where you want to be, right?
Right.
And this is a really good way of controlling that movement of dates.
So I have some Wi-Fi data here, and I'm just gonna scroll down a little more. I have some images that have location data, and it has a little map with a camera and an arrow to where that image was taken.
Oh, perfect. Love it.
Images come right up in the timeline, which I love because there's a lot of tools that don't have the actual images in the timeline.
I mean, if the media's not there, then what?
I know.
What do you want the timeline for?
The name of the picture is.
Oh, that's so helpful.
Data usage, we've got some SMS that are received and then some phone calls on this date. So I absolutely love this timeline feature. Let me see if ArtEx came back after I angered it. Ah, wonderful. I was afraid it would crash and it didn't.
So you just need a faster computer. That's all you need.
Right. So I deselected everything. So you saw a clear screen here. When I deselected everything, I just rechecked the battery level. Now I only see the battery level in my timeline. So I could potentially uncheck here the ones that I don't want and only choose, say I only wanted 1 day of the battery level. Just check the day that I want. So I love the timeline feature. Was there anything else in the timeline feature that you learned in class besides what I've showed?
Oh no. I mean, you
Okay.
show it well. That's fantastic. Yep.
The chat view. I love the chat view too. So all of the conversations are here on the left-hand side. So I'm just flip to a Discord message. You can flip to a regular SMS message, and it all comes up in the chat view with the bubbles, which everybody's looking for courtroom presentation. This is beautiful for a courtroom presentation.
Everybody's looking for them. We had to put bubbles in our tooling as well.
Yes.
It's what people want.
They do. It just presents so much better if you have to go to court on a case. Then there's a gallery tab. All of my images are gathered here in the gallery tab. And the locations tab. So this one has some really cool features.
That's my favorite tab.
Oh my God. I didn't even know about some of the features in here today. Ian just told me about it, so I have to show them. But you can choose over here toward the left on the top. There's a button that says sources. And you can choose which sources you want your location data to come from, what you want to show. We all know that working in forensics, that some of the location data is super reliable and some of the location data is just not as reliable as others. So if you wanted to just come in and pick your iOS cache locations, which we know from the cache SQLite are very reliable, you can choose that and hit update. Once you hit update, all of your cache locations are here. The little maps on the side show where I was. This is, you can see down in the right-hand corner, it says building 22. That is the building that I work in. So I was most likely parked in the parking lot that day.
Well, and I like like a triple view there, where you have like a really overview of kind of the cities around it, then closer overview of the roads, and then really zoomed in all three there. So that's pretty awesome.
Very. And then what I learned about today is he has a feature called Flipbook. This is where you grab the locations that you want. Say you want these 10 or whatever I just grabbed, highlight them, and then up on the top toward the left-hand pane is a little book-looking icon, and it says Create Flipbook. If you click the Create Flipbook, it will turn them into, I'm going to show you right now, this nice view here. And and then you can hit play, and it will literally flip through the locations that you have chosen to present.
Oh, that's fantastic, because I mean, I think these are pretty static, but if you have a data source that records locations with a short period of a window period, it's like a little movie, right? You
It's
see the
awesome.
dot, moving around the road, parking,
Yes.
doing whatever, right? And it looks like a little movie going across as it moves. So it's pretty neat.
I'm going to flip to the other one because this one will actually show some movement down the road here. So this one, you can actually see the device moving on the Adirondack Northway, which is in New York near
amazing.
me.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. There's the option for this flipbook to save it out as an HTML or to save it out as a video. I cannot think of a better courtroom presentation for locations than this. I don't think I know of another tool that does it like this. And I was just so excited today because Ian sent me an email, try the flipbook. I'm like, what is the flipbook? Can you tell me what to do? And he showed me what to do. And I got this done right before the podcast for the presentation. So,
and the folks who are listening, either watch it or download it and try it yourselves.
Oh yeah.
We're looking at obviously a vehicle, going down the map with the little arrows indicating directionality. It's great. I love it.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the very last tab here, you have your directory, so you can navigate through the file system. But
the tooling, and this is what Heather showed from an extraction, but the tooling has features where if you connect a device that's being jailbroken, you can do your research pretty much live, right? You can look at interact with the phone, and immediately look at ArtEx and see the contents of whatever databases you're working on and see those changes live. So instead of having to download the phone every single time you want to see a change, you can make the change and immediately look at it through the tool and continue your research. It's such a time saver. So you're interested in doing iOS research, get a phone that you're able to jailbreak, and you can use ArtEx to do that work.
Yeah, definitely. I don't even want to take it off the screen because I'm so excited about this locations.
We should put it as like a moving background through all
Yeah.
episodes of the maps going around, the arrows moving. It's pretty neat.
It's really, really cool. I can't wait to actually go use that feature in one of my cases. I have not yet. So very awesome work by Ian Whiffen.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. And I'll have the link to download that in the show notes too, that everybody can find now.
No, and the best price, and the best is the price, right? It's free.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the price is awesome.
So just get that, you won't regret it. It's good stuff.
So, recently came across a couple of articles in Forbes magazine, and they are referencing the use of manual previews of phones. So, like video recordings or photographs of phone data or screenshots, and whether or not they have the capability to hold up in court. The Forbes articles were both written by Lars Daniel. And if you don't follow him on LinkedIn, he's got some really good stuff. But the question is, can screenshots of text messages be used as digital evidence in court? Is simply taking a screenshot of a text message, is it enough to use, and is it reliable enough? I would say my opinion on this is no. They're really easy to fake. It's hard to authenticate. There are editing softwares out there. There are fake message generators out there. And it's really easy to manipulate device settings, which the two Forbes articles actually outline very well. What's your thoughts?
It's tough, right? Because we don't always have access to devices in order to pull the data out. And what I mean by that is you can have the password, right? But the device, let's say a latest version mobile device, you can see it on the screen, but the tooling hasn't caught up to it enough to pull it out. And what do you do? Well, there was no crime because I can't take a screenshot. And so let me make a different, at least from my perspective, there's a differentiation between taking a screenshot with the device and taking a screenshot with a third device, right? And I say that because my process is, if I find myself there, I will take a camera, and I don't take pictures of the screen. I take videos of the screen. I mean, could my video of the screen as I scroll through be altered? Well, sure, that's always possible. But I think that showing my process as I thumb through the phone, you can see my finger going through it, step by step. It's a little bit more credible than taking screenshots with the device, which again will be altering the device to begin with, and then trying to go through certain processes to get it in. My video, I think, is a little bit better. I start my video as I would start recording, a voice recording. My name is so and so and so. Today is the date. This is the time. You can see the time on the phone. We're gonna preview the certain or look at data within the application through the device itself, and I start doing my work. Again, that shouldn't be your normal practice. Like, at least from my perspective, like Heather's saying, if you have a tool that does the extraction, then do that. Always go do that.
100%. Always. If you have that capability, always. Yes.
You're gonna solve so many problems before they even start. Okay. In regard, but sometimes we got no choice, so we have to do the best we can. And my perspective is taking a video camera and recording from the screen itself, not to take screenshots of it per se, if that makes sense.
Right. My worry too, I mean, if it's all you can get, it's all you can get. There's nothing more you can do about that. But just taking screenshots of the text messages, what are we missing? We're missing possible exculpatory messages that were deleted because we don't have access to deleted through a manual preview that way. Or possibly just being able to connect the dots and seeing the entire picture. I don't think I could ever do that through a video of the evidence versus having the full extraction.
Well, I mean, so somebody takes some screenshots, right? And you're the expert on the opposing side, and they go, please validate these screenshots. How am I How am I supposed to validate these screenshots? What you're
Right.
asking me is to square a circle, right?
Right.
Like, give me a square without any angles. Well, you
Mm-hmm.
can't do that. I cannot validate that, right? I know you're laughing. You
I
already know
am.
why. So you can't do that, okay? And I had a meme some time ago, and I'm not gonna butcher the joke on this one, all right? There's a scene in Spider-Man where Osborn, the Green Goblin, before he turns the Green Goblin, he has a conversation with Peter Parker, and he tells him, "I'm somewhat of a scientist myself," and explains why, right? Well, the joke is that an IT person sees some chats that are important, goes and screenshots the shots, deletes the evidence because I have the screenshots, and says, "I am somewhat of a digital forensics examiner myself. Let me show you why. Look at my screenshots, right?" And that's kind of the punchline
Right.
of the joke. Well, no, right? We need traceability. We need the verification of that data, and just plain screenshots, you're not gonna get it. And
Right.
if you find yourself in a position to only have to do screenshots, you gotta think of ways. How do I'm able to verify or validate my work, and by verification of this data, of these screenshots? What's my best evidence, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's something that the I'm gonna jump ahead because I love the concept of best evidence. A little bit soapbox moment. The courts, from my experience, I'm not a lawyer, even though I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night. Um, Old joke, people that watch TV back in the day. Best evidence is important. What is best evidence? The conversation that we're having right now, that we're listening. Let's say you were here in person. What you heard is the best evidence. You heard my
Hmm.
voice, but now we have a recording now pulled out to the world. Well, my voice, after it leaves my mouth, it dissipates in air, right? Then what's my best evidence? Or your recollection, and what even better, a recording. And then now the
Right.
recording is your best evidence. But what
Right.
happens if Google burns down and this is lost? Well,
Yeah.
guess what? We have another recording, audio recording in Buzzsprout in the podcast. Well, now that's my best evidence. So the courts will look at your piece of evidence and will ask you, why didn't you get the best evidence? Why did you get your best evidence? Why are you taking some screenshots when you could
Right.
have done an extraction? You could have done this, you could have done that, right? And I think the courts will lean towards not accepting those because they are not your best evidence.
Right. Yeah, I agree. So there are some court cases that were referenced in these articles. I'm just going to read one. So, United States v. Vayner. So, in this case, a screenshot of a social media profile was introduced as evidence. However, the court ruled that the screenshot lacked sufficient authentication, pointing out how easily digital content can be fabricated or altered. The ruling underscored the need for proper forensic verification of digital evidence to ensure its reliability. And it goes along the same lines as what you're saying.
Well, and the comment you put up from Brett, and again, I always love Brett's when he's in the chat. He always brings so much good input into the conversation. He's saying that best evidence is dependent upon the totality of the circumstances, and that's absolutely correct. That's why I was mentioning, if I find myself in a position where I cannot do the extraction and I have to look at the thing, the circumstances, I explain them, note them, take a video of the screen, try to put some validation of me talking through the process and seeing my hand just to show the whole concept. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the circumstances are important, and the courts will judge that, which means you need to make sure you record those circumstances accurately and
Right.
detailed in your notes, contemporaneous notes, properly initialized and dated for that to be able to be considered.
Besides just us doing manual previews for screenshots too, it also the articles also outline when a victim gives a screenshot, right? So Lars actually outlines a real world example in a case that he worked on where a defendant was sent to jail for violating a restraining order. The evidence submitted by the alleged victim to law enforcement were pictures of messages between them and the defendant, and the messages contained threats, including threats of bodily harm. The writer and team questioned the reliability of the text messages and ultimately proved that the victim had faked them. So, after spending 6 months in jail, the charges against the
Wow.
defendant were dropped and he was released from jail based on this evidence.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Look at what could happen if we don't take the proper steps
Yeah.
to actually
Definitely.
get the best evidence.
Yes. I go for the full extraction anytime you possibly can.
Yeah, and if you're not able, document, and if you think you have enough documentation already, document some more just in
Yeah.
case.
Yeah. Document everything. All right. So, digital experts are no longer needed in court. Did everybody know that? We don't need them anymore. We've all lost our jobs. So,
I
so
got
this, go ahead.
no, I got I got triggered when I came across this thing, but then
Yeah.
I calmed down as I'm reading through it. But yeah, just go into it. Go into it.
So this week, if you weren't part of the, I think over 100 comments now, there was a social media post on LinkedIn by Andy Garrett. Andy Garrett is a digital forensic expert in the Orlando area. And I'm just going to read his post. So his post says, anyone paying attention to what the courts have been sold lately? Prosecutors are saying that digital forensic experts aren't needed anymore, that Celebrate reports can be understood by a jury and no expert testimony is needed. The courts agreed.
Yeah, and I got immediately triggered by that,
Yeah, you and me
but then
both.
but I had to step back, especially after reading some of Brett's comment, and think, okay, well, before I get too triggered, like, what case is this, right? I need to know
Yes.
the details, because that's and again, I mean, maybe Garrett couldn't maybe talk about the case, maybe it's an ongoing case or something, so maybe he
Yeah.
cannot give details.
Right.
But my thought process and reading Brett's comments, you know, the context is important, right? Why did the court determine that an expert was not needed in a particular scenario? Um, that's important, and it might not be as bad as it seems. Now, that being said, right, why I'm still a little bit triggered is because I see in and tell me if you agree with me or not. I see across prosecutors, defense attorneys, even folks that work in this field, this concept of, hey, look, I just get the tool output, and if it's there, that's all that I need, right? Do I really even need to testify to it? The tool did everything that is needed, and as long as I put tool output in the hands of the juries or the judges or the stakeholders, I should be good to go. And kind of minimizing the role of the expert in interpreting and analyzing the data, and that's still true, even if that particular case doesn't show that, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Experts are needed. Experts are definitely needed. I know we were talking earlier about like the non-expert that does the extraction, right? They repeat the process over and over again, and they have I think you said their SOP, and maybe they don't have to be the type of expert like we are, right? Like everybody in the chat is, how they're able to understand and explain the analysis and what all of the artifacts mean. But where does that end? So I don't know. I think I'd rather have experts working the case from start to finish, in my opinion.
I mean, in an ideal world, I think that would be the best case scenario, right?
Yeah,
But how many experts do we have to handle that, right? And versus how much work needs to be done, right?
that's
And
the
that's
problem.
tough. Yeah, I
That is the
mean,
problem.
most labs are backlog, and I know you do a lot of work, so even without you telling me, I would assume there's some backlog in your lab at some point.
Oh, yes.
I mean, labs that do work will have
Yeah.
backlogs. That's just how it is, because there's always more demand for the service than the folks that are available to provide it. So what's the solution? What's the middle ground here?
I don't
I have an
know.
opinion on that. Huh?
I said, I don't know. I just don't. I mean, there's a backlog. There has to be a happy medium somewhere in the
Yeah.
middle where the data is getting out quickly so that maybe somebody who isn't fully trained in forensics can read the text messages or go through the call log. But it just worries me on how much of that responsibility we
Yeah.
put on somebody who's not technically trained.
I mean, and I agree with you 100%. So this is my solution. Doesn't mean it's the solution or the best solution, just for something to consider. I think that we could define a technician role where the technician will make sure that they extract things, and they handle the tooling that does the extractions and make sure that they follow a standardized procedure how to do the extractions from all type of devices. And as devices change, those standard operating procedures will change with it, and they will have knowledge kind of constrained to the extraction process. Anything that above that regarding parsing and analysis will go to a qualified expert. And that doesn't mean the expert has to do expert analysis in every single case. Of course, I've
Right.
done a whole bunch of cases where the only thing is needed is a chat, and everything is there.
Right.
There's nothing else for me to do. All that's needed is in the chats. I don't need to look for 20 more dots because that's
Right.
all we need. Okay, and that's not expert testimony. But this is the thing, and Brett was making a great point in regards to the context of the case. Somebody provided some case example where this happened, and in that case, the court determined that an expert was not needed to just operate the tool and show that output in light of it being extra evidence.
Right.
Like the case was already proven 20 ways over before it got to that, right? So I guess a concept of inevitable discovery, the sense that we have so much evidence that this little thing is not going to make a difference, right? And that's the context that maybe Brett and others point out, that there's different contexts for these. Now, my point is, what happens when we think, oh, this is just item number 20 of all the evidence we have? That's plenty, right? And at court, it shows that that piece of evidence has a more profound meaning, right, during trial, right? And it became something irrelevant to something really important, right? I think we'll be in a better position if an expert is available or has touched that evidence in order to go into it, okay? Because people can only speak about the work they've done. And that work they've done is informed by the experiences and by their training. And I want the expert, if things go sideways at trial, to be the one in the seat, in the hot seat. And the courtroom is the coldest place in the world. It's not the North Pole. It's not Antarctica. It's the courtroom. Is the coldest place in the world. Is it true or not, Heather?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Definitely. I don't care what courtroom you go to. It's always gonna be cold.
Yes.
But that witness seat is gonna be hot. And I want my expert to be sitting there if things go sideways, right? So I think I just thought of words to say. Some roles can be a technician role, and some roles can be an expert role, even if every expert role does not lead to expert testimony.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the solution that I think we need to try out and see how that works.
Yeah, I think to kind of differentiate between when you need a technician and when you need an expert, that we need to be educating our prosecutors about digital forensics more. If they have a better understanding of what we do, how we do it, why we do it, what things mean, then they'll know when they need that expert for their case. I know it's extra work. None of us want to do. But if they don't understand it, then we run that risk of possibly having the non-technical person testifying to something an expert should be testifying to.
Well, and the drawbacks that come from that, because that person that doesn't have the experience and the training will not be able to convey to the jury or the stakeholder what they need to know about it, right? Good point here by Brett. You want to read that?
So digital forensic evidence should be at a minimum reviewed by the organization's expert before it's submitted as evidence. Peer review, 100%.
Yeah, and that's something that, for example, we do in some organizations where your trainees and all that, they can do the work, but it's not going out the door without the expert signing off on that work on top of it, to make sure that it's properly done. So that comes to a kind of like a peer review concept as well, but also kind of that seal of approval for somebody that has the actual expertise to speak about those things. So that's a good point.
Definitely. I think part of the problem too is we're all being told about the quick, the easy, the faster data that we're able to get from the tools. And that's it's kind of downplaying the actual forensics behind what we do.
The word sold was correct. You didn't need to change it.
We
are being sold, literally.
We're being sold, yeah. And it's just not. Sometimes it can't be quick. It can't be just easy. In my lab, things go wrong constantly, obviously. I mean, in all forensics labs, but my favorite thing to say to the newer people is welcome to forensics. Nothing's quick, nothing's easy. Things go wrong and you need experts to be able to handle that. And I don't know. I don't like the advertising of everything's just here, push this button, quick and easy, and we're all set.
Or go to the boot camp for a week and you're an expert.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I made 2 comments, but something real quick. 2025 for me, I got 3 concepts I want to really kind of build on as I do my social media outreach and all that. And one of them is probity. So the quality of being a moral agent as you are an investigator and a forensic examiner, your morality and your values that you do your work. Another one is attention to detail. Attention to detail is making sure that you're not missing anything and you're on, looking for the things, the small things that could make the large difference. That takes time. Speaking, going back to the point that we're making, right? And the third one is um, probity, attention to detail, and due diligence. Due diligence. We can't just go with the superficial. Oh, I got 2 or 3 things. Well, we are required to look at 5, 6, and 7 as well. And even if you know that you're not gonna find anything, you still have to do it. You do
Yes.
your due diligence. Those are the 3 main things I want to focus on 2025. And I say that for myself first, but also towards others. And all those things take time. You cannot rush through them, right? There's backlogs, it's true. And folks, don't think we hate tool makers or hate tools. We love tools. We need tools. Heather just spent 20 minutes loving a tool.
I do.
Praising a tool, right? But the tools are only as good as the person driving them and doing the work behind it for that verification of data or validation of the tool or the process as needed. And that cannot be overlooked. Tool vendors, and I understand it's a business, are not gonna be upfront with the flaws or the limitations of the tool because they're trying to sell you something. So they're gonna want to be upfront with their best foot forward. I get it. But we have to look at the marketing and be skeptical and conscious consumers of that marketing. We're gonna use the tool, we're gonna buy it, but be realistic and look for where are the gaps, because
Right.
our job is filling those gaps to make sure we have a good product and good outcomes.
I'm going to read Brett's comment. The medical field has CNAs, LPNs, RNs, APRNs, CNLs, PAs, and then the doctors, the experts. DFIR will probably end up the same way because of backlogs.
And it's true. Don't get me wrong. It's true.
It is.
What I like is the answer for a person that we love. She's saying that, well, actually, the medical laboratory scientists are the real medical field experts. And I'm laughing because I've seen sometimes the nurse telling the doctor, hey, you shouldn't put that medication with the other. You might kill the patient. And the doctor is like, oh, yeah, that's right.
So that would be my sister. She's a medical laboratory scientist, just in case you didn't get that from her comments.
No, good stuff. We love you, Holly.
So I'm gonna skip down a little bit because we're getting close to our hour and we're gonna save some of our topics for next podcast. But let's hop down to what's new with the leaps.
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot. Woo-hoo.
There is a lot, so that's why we're gonna hop right down to it. So,
by somebody that's awesome and incredible, a cool programmer, developer. That's just at first it was kind of getting off the nest, a little bird, but now it's flying. Can you tell us who that is, Heather?
Well, yeah, Johan's students created a parser this week.
Yes, that's true, but that's not the bird I'm talking about. The other bird.
So, actually, I created a new parser for ALEAP, and it is the Google Keep Notes. There already was a parser for the Google Keep Notes, but Google Keep Notes changed, and I found that out in one of my cases when I parsed it with all of the tools I have available to me. And the only thing in the notes that were being parsed were the timestamps and the title of the notes. I was missing the entire body of the notes and attachments of the notes. So I needed that. Went into the database, found the note. It was actually very pertinent to my case and had to figure out how to report on that. So I, with the help of somebody else who's pretty awesome and might be a co-host in this podcast, just saying, was able to get the data that I needed for my report, and that case went out. So it's up on ALEAP now. I'm just waiting for somebody to approve it.
Kevin, get on it.
Kevin's looking at it for me. And I actually took the time to write a blog on it. So I'll post that in the show notes. I don't have it right here with me to put up on the screen. But so the way Google Keep Notes works, though, I parsed or I'm able to parse the section where the notes are stored, but you also can share notes in Google Keep. So there'll be a creator of the note, and you can add collaborators to notes. That part, that part I don't have completely figured out yet, but I'm working on it. And I've put in the blog the sections that I have figured out so far. So,
And I a quick comment there. I love that, the process, the thought process. Heather goes to the tools. What's her assumption? Oh, there's no notes here because the tool didn't give me any notes. No, she went in and made sure she was not missing something there, and she immediately discovered that the tools now had a gap. They didn't have it before. Now they have it again. You had to be careful with those assumptions. Just because it did it in the past doesn't mean it's gonna do it in the future.
yeah.
And now she filled that gap, and now we all benefit. I benefit. Now I run the tooling, and I can find those notes that other tooling doesn't find. Sorry. So thank you, Heather, for sharing that with everybody.
I've got to throw the A-Leap report up too, even though it's not there yet.
Yeah.
So now we have the time created, the last updated time, the last time the user edited the note. This one is a note with more than one image, which I got help with.
Well, and let me tell you, the help with it wasn't that much help. I gotta give her so much credit because I saw the parser, right, so by your background, and I saw the one picture per row or per
Yeah.
record, and I'm like, Heather, what is there's two pictures? He's like, oh well, yeah, they might have more pictures, and she went in and looked at some sample code that I directed her to, and she figured it out. So really proud of you. That's well done.
Well, thank you. Also with the leaps though, Johan, who we talk about all the time, that is a major player in the leaps. He had his students create a parser for the app Pay by Phone. It's an app that he says is widely used in Europe. I've actually never heard of it, so I looked it up to see exactly what it does. It's a quick and easy way to pay for your parking. And the app actually has the functionality to pin the location of a vehicle once it's parked so that the user can easily find the vehicle when they're trying to return to it, which we all know based off of that, we'll have some beautiful location data.
Oh yeah, and the fact that now folks from I say overseas to us from the US, right? They're adding to the tooling, to the leap tooling. That's something that makes me, emotional in a positive way because it's not just folks in the US, it's folks in Europe, folks in Africa, folks in, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan that now we're kind of building that worldwide community. Again, Johan it's just such a key one of our key developers right now, and he volunteers his time, across the sea to now to benefit everybody around the world. So I do appreciate that, and I would want to make an invitation to listeners that if you're involved in the educational sector as an instructor, professor of forensics or computer science, look for projects like ours that are open sourced, and you can mix in within your lessons the applicability of your lessons through the development of these tools. In his case, his tools learn how to look at unparsed apps, how to identify items of interest, and then automate those results in reports that are easily digestible to lay users. And they decided to use the leaps for that purpose. And Johan told me that the students loved the project. They really felt that it was a worthwhile endeavor and that their knowledge, their academic knowledge, had an actual real world application and that they can point to. And not only point to as a self fulfilling aspect of their studies, but also when you go out into the real world and work, you can point to those projects that had an impact that you were part of. So educators will be happy to have you, and not only to code. If your students do technical writing, we'll be happy to have them help us with some of the documentations for the tools or do some graphical work. We'll be happy also to receive collaborations on those. So um, please reach out to myself or to the podcast social media aspects, and we'll be happy to get in touch and maybe work together on expanding the tooling and expanding your coursework.
Nice. I think you have some stuff to talk about with lava, correct?
Yes, it's hot. It's molten rock hot. So I think I mentioned at the beginning that we got the Leaps Leaps Artifact Viewer app called Lava, and on Monday, like I said, myself and James, we gave a demonstration of the tool. So that's what I'm gonna do today. Let me just share my screen so we can do that. Share my screen here. I'm gonna share the screen that doesn't have all the junk. that's actually clean. So entire screen. Here we go. Boom. All right. So we got a clean screen here, and the first thing I'm gonna show you is the how the leaps, when you run the leaps, specifically right now iLeap, we change a few things. Can we see that, Heather? The
Yes.
leaps folder, right? So you
Yes.
run the leap tools, and if you're not familiar with the leaps, I explained at the beginning, but you can go to github.com/abrignoni, and you'll see all the repositories for the leaps. You can download them and play with them. When you take an extraction from an iOS device and run it through the tool, you're gonna get a report like the one here on the top of my screen. It's named iLeap reports and the timestamp for the day the report was run. Now, the way the reports are organized, you will see it's just really clean. You will see an HTML folder with all the HTML reports for the artifacts that were discovered or let's say discovered, I should say, parsed by the tool. Before, it didn't used to be this way. I would have, it's my fault. I would have HTML reports all over this directory. It was kind of a mess. So Johan and Kevin and John and James kind of helped me clean this up quite a bit. Now, the important things here are these two files, _lava_artifacts.db and _lava_data.json. These are now, as we update the leaves, they will be producing this in your report. That's what the new viewer will necessitate in order to show you the data in a different way. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. I'm gonna show you here super alpha installation of Lava. That's why it has an extra A at the end. So this is not production quality yet, but I want to demonstrate that for the folks here in the show. So I'm gonna run it. And what we're gonna see here right now on the screen is an Electron app that has React running in the background to do this type of work. It says Lava 1.0, part of the Leaves family, and there's a display settings. I'm gonna start there with the display settings. Under theme settings, you can go to light, like that. If you want to burn your eyes, you're free to do that, like Heather. I guess she might use shades when she's sitting at her computer. I don't know.
I set the leap report that I showed tonight to dark.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
All the vampires, like myself, we use it as dark, right? And then you can open a project. So what you do is you have your leap report that's compatible or compliant with the Lava viewer. You're gonna hit open project, go to your leaps report. Oops, there we go. And then select that lava data.json and hit open. The project will open that data, look at the database, and populate the fields. This is a limited data set, it's quite small, but you will see here on the left all the artifacts. In this case, it's user activity. It's going to be 3 artifacts with 163 records on those. So if I open it, you'll see that how it's break down by artifact and how many records each artifact has. The more artifacts are parsed, the more you'll see here on the left pane. I'm going to make a quick note here. In the demonstration we did on Monday, James made a synthetic data set, so it's not real data, but looks like real data, to run on Lava. The thing was that he used over 2 million records for that piece of data, and Lava is able to display it in a blink of an eye.
That's insane.
It's insane fast. I couldn't believe it. The issue we were having, that's why we're moving to Lava, is that originally the Leaps did HTML reporting. And HTMLs, if it's a really large HTML, your browser will crash. And you will tell me, well, that's really stupid. Why did you select HTML? Well, I can only do what I could do when I could do it with the knowledge I had at the time. But this is not that weird. It's if anybody has processed lately or look at a return from Meta, Instagram or Facebook, what are you receiving, Heather? Do you know what you're receiving?
I don't get a lot of returns, but I have heard that it's just tons and tons and tons and tons of data in HTML.
It's one HTML.
Yes.
With 5 gigs of data.
Yes.
I mean, you can't see it. There's no browser in the world that can open it.
Right.
It's ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, even Meta still does this, right? So I don't feel that bad. But we have to think of a solution. And I'm so grateful for James and Johan and all the crew that we came up with this, right? And again, lots of props to James. He's kind of spearheading this part of the project, where now we can look at all these really large amounts of data pretty quickly. For example, I hit here the keyword application usage, and let me put this in, and it loads there. You can see
Mm-hmm.
there all the different data that you can see. And again, these are really simple artifacts. They're not large ones, but the ones that James showed were millions and millions of records. If you hover here over the dates, you get a cool view of different time formats in
That's awesome.
ISO, UTC, Unis epoch, and from how far away that timestamp was generated. For example, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 months ago, which I like a lot. And if it's DST, leap year, it's fantastic. And the tool also allows you to change the offset. If you go to display settings, you can go to date and time settings, and then you can select, and I know this is something that Heather will appreciate, you can
Mm-hmm.
select any time zone that you care about, because Heather's an heretic and she does not believe in UTC.
I don't. I want it in my time zone.
Yeah, I don't know. You're an infidel. You need you need to do things in UTC.
It's the daylight savings time. I don't want to have to try and figure out what date it changed up on the stand and get it wrong. I just would rather have it account for it for me.
Well, until you understand and you have one timestamp that's DST, another isn't, and they're both from two different time zones, and you're trying to testify to those. Good luck.
I know. I still want my time zones.
No, I'm also kind of being. Yeah, I'm kidding. We need the time zones. I mean, we need the time zones. We
Yeah.
need to make this understandable to our users, and they're not gonna deal with UTCs. So I'm just trying to be quasi phony. So yeah, it's right here. You can change it, and you can change the date format. I believe only in ISO date times, but hey, if you want to also be a heretic and change the times form data format, you can also be wrong and change it here. Okay.
That's not wrong.
Really,
I like Brett's. Brett's suggestion is right. The world needs to be on UTC, one time zone for everybody.
I mean, the world is. It's just that we don't want to accept it. I mean, UTC itself is not a time zone, right? It's just the time.
Yeah, it's true.
A time zone is an offset of UTC. See, now I'm getting pedantic.
Very picky, very picky.
Yeah, but yeah, so these are the settings. Yeah, I get distracted easily, squirrel. So and this type of view, we're gonna add a whole bunch of stuff to it. We're gonna add the media viewer, which we're working on. We're gonna add hopefully, in the future, be able to generate sub reports, kind of tags and bookmarks, and then generate sub reports of that, export formats. And now we're taking the work that was done at the parsing stage and kind of segmenting it. So the parsing is the parsing. All this display enhancement or conversions will happen apart from the parsing. And this is a good separation of responsibilities on the tool, which gives us a lot of flexibility moving forward. I want everybody to, if you could, go to leaps.org, leapps.org. Thank you so much. And please sign up for notifications. If you sign up, we'll let you know when the latest leaps, be it iLeap, ALeap, or whatever, have been updated, and there's new binaries for you. And we'll also let you know when Lava when it's ready to be released, we'll announce it through that list. We'll send you a notification that Lava has been released. So please sign up for that. The page right now is just a sign up form, but in the near future, we're gonna make a full feature website that talks about the tools. We'll have documentation. We'll talk about Lava and point you to the right places to get the right things. So we're gonna hopefully build on this website moving forward.
Very cool. I can't wait until it's released.
No,
Very excited.
It's again the speed and all the things that we're building. Again, I've been blessed to have such great folks around me, including you, of course, experts, colleagues, and friends. So it's a good big, in the holiday spirit. It's a big work of love.
A big work of love. Okay.
Oh, come on. Just
I love it.
Just vibe with me, please.
It's
Okay,
perfect.
thank you.
It's perfect.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you.
All right. So everybody's favorite time, meme of the week.
Yeah.
Let me share. Let me share. There we go. So the meme of the week this week is a tree, and the tree says the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And then you see a little apple on the tree, and it says if it is not on the automated tool produced report, it doesn't matter. And then you see the tree throw the apple. And I think it's a perfect example of not everything is in your automated tool report.
It's an express example of what Heather will do to you in her lab.
Yes.
He will open the window and throw you out the window really far away, like the tree threw that apple really far away.
People actually say this to me in the lab just to irritate me. I haven't thrown anybody out the window yet, though.
Yet.
Coming.
I made this joke because I hear that too often, and it kills me. So, yeah, you're gonna be falling really far away from me, because no, I made a point, and I was interviewed for the Forensic Focus website a couple of days ago, so that should be coming out soon. And I made the point that the real job of a digital forensic examiner is not to show what the tool finds. All right, the real job description is to find the things that the tool doesn't. Right, and that's a big difference. Right, we're finding things, but the things that the tool doesn't. That's, I think, the really important piece of my job. Not the only thing. Even the things the tool finds, I need to verify and all that. Sure, but the core value that I bring is finding what the tool cannot find, and that's job security till the end of time. Till the end of time,
Yes.
you will always have job security because there will always be things that are missed or misinterpreted or that were shown before and then disappeared later, a new version. And our job is to find those, fill those gaps, and make sure we have a complete picture of the events under our care.
Couldn't agree more. 100%. I love this meme, and it illustrates that beautifully.
Print it, put it on the meme wall.
Oh, it's going on the meme wall, definitely. I need to refresh the meme wall anyway. Take some down, put some new ones up. Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah, you know.
There's plenty to choose from. So
look, as things happen in this field, there will always be memes right behind them. So and if folks have ideas for memes, send me some. I cannot reveal who gave me some ideas because, you know, I don't want to get in trouble, but some of the best memes come from folks saying, "Hey, I had this experience," and I'm like, "That's right, me too. Let's make a meme about it," you know.
Definitely. That's all I have. That's all we have for the week.
Yay! Thank you for all the folks that, you know, took with us a little bit over time today. I think it was a great episode. Thank you, Heather, for all the work that you do, both for the community and for the podcast. You're the best.
Thank you. You for all the work you do.
And I hope that your holidays are awesome, that you get all the toys that you want, all the electronics that you want from Santa Claus or from the Three Kings. If you're Hispanic like me, the Three Kings send you gifts, you know, in Three Kings Day. So I hope that happens for you.
Well, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas as well. And yes, you'll be getting Legos, I'm sure.
Are you Santa? Do you read the list I sent to Santa?
Yep.
I think it's a GDPR violation there. I don't know. Some privacy violation. Well, and for everyone listening and watching at home, again, we hope you have the merriest of holidays, close to the people that you love, and you know, getting ready for the new year, and we can only wish for you good things to come.
Yes.
We'll see you after the holidays. Keep track of us on social media, and so you know when we're going live again. And have a good night. And again, happy holidays.
Have a good night.
Bye.